The stars were dying, and nobody knew how to stop it. Captain stood on the bridge of her ship, the horizon's edge, watching the emergency broadcast for the third time. The alien on the screen looked desperate. Its skin was pale blue, and its 4 eyes blinked in a pattern that her translator said meant fear. "This is Prime Speaker of the Galactic Coalition," the alien said. "We are 17 species. We have 200 worlds, and we are losing this war." Behind could see explosions. Buildings fell. Ships burned in the sky. "The enemy calls itself the Ravagers. They are machines that think as one. They consume everything: planets, ships, people. They turn it all into fuel for more machines. We have fought for 3 years. We are losing." His voice cracked. "We send this message to all civilized worlds. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help." The message ended. Looked at her crew. Dr. Park, her science officer, was frowning. Engineer Lee was already typing on her console. "Can we reach them?" asked. "Yes," said. "It will take 2 weeks at maximum speed." "Captain," said carefully, "we should talk to Earth Command first. We don't know what we're flying into." Nodded. She knew he was right, but she had seen the desperation in his eyes. 3 days later, Earth Command gave them permission. But the message was clear: observe only. Don't engage. Humans had only been in space for 50 years. They were new to this galaxy. 2 weeks of flying through the dark brought them to Coalition space. What they found was worse than the broadcast showed. The first Coalition ship they met was called the Sanctum Guard. It was huge, maybe 10 times bigger than the horizon's edge, but it was damaged. Scorch marks covered its hull. Pieces were missing. "Human vessel, this is Guard Captain Nix," a voice said. The translator made it sound tired. "You should turn back. This is a war zone." "We're here to help," said. There was a long pause. "Help? Your species only just left what could you possibly do?" Leaned forward. "We survived Earth. That should count for something." Another pause. "Stand by." An hour later, they were invited to the Coalition command station. It was a massive ring orbiting a gas giant. Took a shuttle with end. They wanted to make a small team less threatening. The gravity inside the station felt light. Steps bounced slightly. Had to walk carefully to avoid hitting his head on the ceiling. "This is weird," muttered. "I feel like I could jump to the roof." "Their gravity is different from Earth," said. "Lower, much lower." They entered the council chamber. 17 different species sat around a circular table. They all stopped talking when the humans walked in, felt their eyes on her. Some looked curious. Others looked afraid. Prime Speaker stood. In person, the alien was tall and thin, with long fingers that moved like water. "Welcome, humans. I am grateful you came, but I must ask, why did you come?" "You called for help," said simply. His eyes blinked rapidly. "Yes, but you are so new to space. You have no military fleet, no alliance, no experience with galactic war." Stepped forward. "May I ask about the Ravagers? What exactly are we fighting?" A screen appeared in the center of the table. It showed a machine, all sharp edges and dark metal. It moved like a spider with too many legs. "They harvest biological matter," explained. "They land on a planet, consume everything living, and move to the next world. We tried to fight them. We lost 17 planets, millions of lives." "The system fell last month," another alien said. "This one looked like a bird with feathers that changed color. Our best military force was there, the Sanctum Guard. They were slaughtered." Studied the images. "Where do they operate? What kind of environments?" "Everywhere," said. "But their harvesting ships prefer lower gravity worlds, easier to process organic matter." "How low?" asked. "0.7 standard," the bird alien said. And exchanged a look, saw trying not to smile. "0.7, said slowly. "That's lighter than Earth." The room went silent, leaned forward. "What is Earth's gravity?" 1.0 standard, said. "By your measurements." Another alien, covered in fur, made a choking sound. That's impossible. No civilized species evolves in such conditions. The pressure would crush developing intelligence. Earth's atmospheric pressure is also higher than yours, continued, and our oxygen levels would be toxic to most species here. Hal whispered, "Did your species survive?" Smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "We didn't just survive. We evolved. Earth tried to kill us with ice ages, volcanoes, meteors, diseases, and predators that hunted us in the dark. So we learned to be tougher than everything else." The council looked disturbed, could see fear in their eyes. "We also brought our medical files," said, "to show you what humans can endure." He pressed a button. Images appeared on the screen. Human bodies with injuries that made several aliens look away. "This person broke 3 ribs and walked 5 miles for help," said, pointing. "This one lost half their blood and stayed conscious. This one suffered second-degree burns on 40% of their body and recovered fully." "Impossible," the fur-covered alien said. "Any of those injuries would kill my people." "That's what we're trying to tell you," said. "Earth made us hard to kill." "Stood up, you wish to fight alongside us." "If you'll have us," said. The prime speaker looked at the other council members. They whispered among themselves. Finally, turned back to the humans. "We will accept your help, but understand we cannot risk your species. You are too new, too inexperienced. We will give you support roles only, technical assistance, medical knowledge, nothing on the front lines." Wanted to argue, but she saw the fear in their faces. They weren't just afraid of the Ravagers. They were afraid of what humans might be. "We understand," she said. "We'll do whatever you need." As they left the council chamber, whispered, "They have no idea what they're getting." "No," agreed. "They think we're fragile because we're new." Smiled grimly. "They'll learn. The Ravagers are about to discover what it creates." Behind them in the council chamber watched the humans go. One of the council members approached. "Prime Speaker, are you sure about this? Their planet sounds like a nightmare. What if they're dangerous?" His eyes blinked slowly. "Did you see their injuries? The things they survive? Either they will save us, or we have invited something worse than the Ravagers into our home. Which do you think it is?" Looked at the door where the humans had left. "I think we are about to find out what happens when you give predators a reason to protect you." In the darkness of space, the Ravagers continued their march across the galaxy. They did not know that Earth had answered the call. They did not know what was coming. They would learn soon enough. The alarm woke Sergeant from a shallow sleep. He was on his feet before the second pulse sounded, pulling on his combat gear with practiced speed. "All personnel to stations," the ship's voice said. "Ravager contact, this is not a drill." Grabbed his rifle and headed for the briefing room. His Marines were already there. 20 humans, all volunteers who had joined the coalition forces 2 months ago. They looked ready. "Listen up," Lieutenant Sarabay said, bringing up a map on the screen. "Coalition forces are trapped on a moon called 4. Ravagers ambushed them during a supply run. The moon has high gravity, 1.4 standard." One of the Marines whistled, "Heavier than Earth." "Exactly," Sora said. "The coalition soldiers can barely move. Their suits are failing under the weight. They need extraction." Checked his gear. "What's our role?" "We're going in," Sora said with a thin smile. "Command finally agreed to let us fight." The dropship rattled as it entered 4's atmosphere. Watched the coalition soldiers through the window. They were strapped into powered suits, big metal frames that did the walking for them. "You think those will work?" asked Medic Hand sitting next to him. "In this gravity, maybe," said, "but they'll be slow." The ship landed hard. The door opened and felt the gravity hit him like a weight. It was strong, pulling at his bones, but he had trained in worse. Earth's military had gravity chambers that went up to 1.6. He walked down the ramp without his suit. His Marines followed, carrying their weapons and gear with no mechanical help. The Coalition commander, a tall alien named, stared at them. "Where are your suits?" "Don't need them," said. His face changed color, turning from blue to purple. "This is 1.4 gravity. You'll collapse in minutes." "Maybe," said. "Let's find out." They moved toward the Coalition position, could feel the gravity pressing down, making each step harder, but his muscles were built for Earth. This was heavy, but not impossible. Around them, Coalition soldiers struggled in their powered suits. The suits moved slowly, fighting against the weight. Some had already broken down, leaving soldiers trapped inside. "Contact!" someone shouted. The Ravagers came fast, moving on multiple legs like metal insects. Their weapons glowed hot. "Take cover," ordered. The Coalition soldiers moved like they were underwater. Their suits were too slow. Saw 3 of them get hit before they could find shelter. "Marines with me," shouted. His team moved at a run. Yes, it was harder than running on Earth. Yes, every step felt heavy, but they could do it. They had trained for this. The Ravagers seemed confused. Their sensors probably told them nothing should be moving that fast in this gravity. Fired his rifle. The magnetic rounds punched through the first Ravager's armor. It sparked and fell. "Flanking positions," Sora called out. She was already moving to the right, her team following. They moved between rocks using the terrain. The Ravagers adapted quickly. They spread out, trying to surround the humans, but had fought in jungles and mountains on Earth. He knew how to fight when outnumbered. "Get to those wounded Coalition soldiers," he ordered. The medic nodded and ran toward the fallen aliens. A Ravager turned its weapons toward him, put 4 rounds into its center mass. It went down hard. Reached the first wounded soldier. The alien was bleeding from its side, a strange purple color, pulled out his medical kit. "Stay still," he said. "I'm going to help you." "You're running in this gravity," the alien gasped. "How?" "Earth," said simply, pressing a wound seal against the injury. "Earth makes you tough or kills you. We're the tough ones." Another Ravager charged at them, grabbed his pistol with one hand, still holding the medical seal with the other. He fired 3 times. The machine fell 2 meters away. The alien soldier stared at him. "You just shot while treating me." "Had to," said. "Can't treat you if you're dead." The battle lasted 30 minutes. It felt like hours. The gravity made everything harder, but the humans adapted. They used shorter bursts of movement. They supported each other. They kept fighting. The Coalition soldiers watched in amazement. These humans, with no powered armor, were doing what their best troops could not. When the last Ravager fell, silence filled the battlefield. Approached slowly, his suit whining with each step. "I don't understand. You should be exhausted. You should be injured. Some of you were hit." Looked down at his arm. A burn mark crossed his bicep where a Ravager weapon had grazed him. It hurt, but not enough to stop him. "This," said, "I've had worse." "That would kill most species from shock alone," said. Sora walked up, limping slightly. Blood ran down her leg from a deep cut, but she was smiling. "Pain is just information. It tells you something is wrong. It doesn't tell you to stop." Was moving between the wounded, treating both humans and aliens. He had a nasty bruise forming on his face but ignored it. "Your medic is injured," observed. "He'll treat himself later," said. "Right now others need him more." They helped load the wounded onto the transport ships. As they lifted off, saw the Coalition soldiers staring at the humans. There was fear in their eyes, but also something else. Hope, maybe. Back on the command station, the report spread quickly. Humans had fought in conditions that would kill most species. They had moved without powered armor in crushing gravity. They had taken injuries that should have stopped them and kept fighting. Captain met her Marines in the medical bay. Was finally getting his own injuries treated by a Coalition doctor. The doctor kept making surprised noises. "Your bone is cracked here," the doctor said, pointing to his ribs on the scan. Why didn't you stop fighting? Couldn't, said. People needed help. But the pain. I felt it, said. Ignored it. The doctor looked at. Captain, I must ask, what kind of world creates people who can ignore broken bones? Sat down next to. Earth has 5 mass extinctions in its history, ice ages that covered most of the planet, volcanoes that blocked out the sun for years, meteors that killed almost everything, and through it all our ancestors survived, not because they were strong, because they refused to die. Doctor arrived with data files. I've been studying the battle recordings. The Ravagers pulled back at the end. Look at this. He played a video. The last Ravager, damaged and retreating, sent out a signal, had translated it. The message was simple. Warning. Unknown species detected. Extreme pain tolerance. Extreme damage resistance. Extreme aggression under injury. Recommend avoidance. They're afraid, Sora said, reading the message. Not just afraid, corrected. Confused. Their programming doesn't account for a species that gets more dangerous when injured. That's just adrenaline, said. Basic human biology. There's nothing basic about it, said. Most species in the galaxy go into shock when badly hurt. Their bodies shut down to prevent further damage. Humans. We had to develop adrenaline because our predators wouldn't stop chasing us. We learned to fight through pain because stopping meant death. Prime Speaker entered the medical bay. The alien leader looked at the wounded Marines. All of them were sitting up, talking, some even laughing. I owe you an apology, said Tu. We treated you like fragile newcomers. We were wrong. You didn't know, said. No, agreed. But now we do, and I have a question. Your planet Earth, it truly tried to kill your species. Every day, said, for millions of years. And you survived by becoming this, gestured at the Marines, beings who can function with broken bones and burns and cuts. We survived by being stubborn, said, by refusing to give up, by helping each other even when it hurt. Was quiet for a long moment. The Coalition has been fighting the Ravagers for 3 years. We have superior technology, better ships, more resources, but we've been losing. Do you know why? Tell me, said. Because when our soldiers are hurt, they stop. When our ships are damaged, we retreat. When a battle turns against us, we withdraw to fight another day. It's logical. It's smart. It's how civilized species wage war. Looked at the humans again. But you don't fight like that, do you? Stood up from his medical bed, bandages around his ribs. No, Prime Speaker, we don't. What will you do when you're hurt and tired and the battle is lost? Sora smiled, though her leg was in a brace. We'll keep fighting, that's what do. His eyes blinked rapidly, that sign of fear. But when the alien spoke, there was determination in its voice. Then perhaps we have a chance after all. As Left looked at his fellow humans, they still don't understand, do they? No, agreed. They think we're fearless. They don't realize we're terrified most of the time. So why do we fight? Asked. Smiled, because being afraid and fighting anyway, that's the most human thing there is. Commander Minu stood before the Coalition War Council with a map floating in the air between them. Red dots marked Ravager positions. Blue dots showed Coalition forces. There was a lot more red than blue. You're losing because you're defending, Minu said bluntly. You wait for them to attack, then you respond. That's not how you win wars. General, who had fought on 4, leaned forward. What do you suggest, Commander? We hunt them, Minu said. We find their bases, their factories, their command ships. We destroy them before they can attack us. A bird-like alien named shook its head. Impossible. We've tried offensive operations. The Ravagers have too many defenses. We lose ships every time. You lose ships because you attack head-on, Minu countered. On Earth, we learned a different way. When something is bigger and stronger than you, you don't fight it directly. You stalk it, wait for weakness, strike fast and disappear. Guerrilla warfare, Doctor added from his seat. Humans perfected it over thousands of years. We were prey once. We learned to hunt the hunters. Prime Speaker studied the map. Do you have a specific target? Minu changed the display. A new image appeared showing a dark planet covered in factories. This is Processing World Gamma 7. Intelligence says it's where the Ravagers convert biological matter into fuel. Destroy this, and you slow down their entire operation. We know about Gamma 7, said. It's surrounded by defense stations, 12 of them. Our fleet can't break through. Your fleet can't, Minu agreed, but a small team could. The council erupted in protests, raised a hand for silence. Explain, Commander. The Ravagers expect large attacks, Minu said. They're machines. They calculate based on threat size. They won't expect a small team to infiltrate their processing world. How would you even get there without being detected? Asked. Minu smiled. That's where Pilot Shin comes in. Was in the pilot-ready room when Minu found him. The young pilot was studying star charts and flight paths, muttering to himself. They want me to do what? Said after Minu explained the mission. Fly through the debris field around Gamma 7, Minu repeated. Use it as cover to avoid their sensors. That debris field is moving at different speeds, said. One wrong move and we hit something at velocity. The impact would vaporize us. Can you do it? Looked at the charts again. His fingers traced a path through the chaos. Maybe. I'd have to fly manually. No computer can calculate those movements in real time. That's why I need a human pilot, Minu said. Machines follow rules. Humans improvise. 3 days later, a small team assembled in the shuttle bay. 50 humans and 200 coalition volunteers. Among them was Specialist, a communications officer with sharp eyes and quick fingers. I've been studying Ravager signals, told the team during the briefing. They communicate using encrypted bursts. I think I can crack it. Why do we need their communications? A coalition soldier asked. Because knowing what they're saying gives us an advantage, explained. We'll know where they're looking, where they're weak, where they expect attacks. The mission began at midnight ship time. Sat in the pilot's seat of a coalition stealth ship, modified with human controls. His hands moved over the interface. Approaching debris field, he said calmly. Everyone strap in. This is going to be rough. Rough was an understatement. The ship shook as threaded it between tumbling chunks of metal and rock. Coalition crew members looked terrified. The humans looked focused but calm. Debris at 3 o'clock, the sensor officer called out. I see it, said, rolling the ship 90 degrees. A piece of destroyed ship passed so close it scraped their hull. Too close, the sensor officer gasped. Close enough, corrected. He accelerated into a gap between 2 rotating pieces of station wreckage. The ship spun as he navigated through. A coalition officer threw up from the G-forces. Sergeant, sitting nearby, handed them a bag without comment. How can you handle this? The officer asked weakly. Motion sickness is just inner ear confusion, said. You can ignore it. I can't. You can, said firmly. Focus on something still, breathe steady, mind over body. 20 minutes of violent maneuvering later, they were through. Set them down on Gamma 7's dark side, where sensors couldn't reach. Told you I could do it, said, though his hands were shaking slightly. Minu clapped him on the shoulder. Good flying, now comes the hard part. They moved across the planet's surface in small groups. The gravity was low, 0.6 standard, making them feel light and quick. The humans had to adjust to jumping shorter distances than their muscles wanted. Set up her equipment behind a rock formation. Arrays of antennas unfolded. She put on headphones and started typing. I'm picking up their network, she whispered. Give me a minute. The team waited. Coalition soldiers watched the horizon nervously. The humans checked their weapons and stayed alert but didn't show fear. Got it, said suddenly. I'm in their communication network. What are they saying? Minyu asked. His face went pale as she listened. They know we're here. What? They detected our landing. They're sending a patrol to investigate. She listened more. 20 units, armed, 5 minutes out. Minyu made a quick decision. Take half the team and set up an ambush at that ridge. Make it loud. Can you send false signals? Maybe, she said. What do you want them to think? Make them think the whole attack force is with. I'm taking the rest and going for the processing plant. It was a risky plan, but Minyu had learned on Earth that sometimes the best strategy was to divide your enemy's attention. His team reached the ridge with seconds to spare. The Ravagers came fast, their metal legs clicking on stone. They moved in formation, perfectly coordinated. Wait for it, whispered to his team. The Ravagers got closer, 50 meters, 40, 30. Now! Humans opened fire from 3 sides. The Ravagers never had a chance to react. Half were destroyed in the first volley. But these machines were smart. They adapted quickly, spreading out and returning fire. Energy weapons lit up the dark. Lieutenant Sora took a hit to her shoulder armor. The impact spun her around, but she kept firing. They're learning our positions. Keep them busy, shouted. Minyu needs time. Meanwhile, Minyu's team reached the processing plant. It was massive, all dark metal and glowing lines of energy. Organic matter went in one side. Fuel came out the other. Place charges at the support columns, Minyu ordered. We've got maybe 10 minutes before they realize we're here. The team moved quickly. Human engineers worked alongside coalition technicians, placing explosive charges. The coalition members were precise but slow. The humans moved with practiced speed, their hands steady. Commander, I'm detecting patrol patterns, said in his ear. They run sweeps every 8 minutes, next one in 3 minutes. We'll be done in 2, Minyu said, though he wasn't sure. 1 minute left. The last charge was being placed, then alarms started screaming. They found us, said, sending reinforcements, lots of them. How many is lots? Minyu asked. All of them, said grimly. Minyu looked at his team. 25 humans, 100 coalition soldiers, against an entire planet of Ravagers. New plan, he said. We blow the charges now and run. We're not all clear yet, a coalition officer protested. No choice, Minyu said. Either we blow it now or we all die. Move. They ran. Behind them, the charges detonated. The explosion was bigger than expected. The entire processing plant collapsed, taking 3 city blocks with it. The shockwave knocked Minyu off his feet. He rolled and came up running. Around him, coalition soldiers struggled in the low gravity, taking 2 large jumps. Short steps, he shouted. Control your momentum. Ravagers poured from every direction. There were too many to count. Their weapons fired in synchronized patterns. Back to the ship, Minyu ordered. They fought while retreating. Humans laid down covering fire while coalition soldiers moved. Then the coalition returned the favor. It was messy and desperate, nothing like the clean battles in training simulations. Medic was everywhere, dragging wounded to cover, applying quick seals to injuries. He took a graze across his ribs but didn't slow down. I got you, he said to a fallen coalition soldier, pulling them behind a rock. Stay down. My leg is broken, the soldier gasped. I know, said, injecting pain medication. But you're alive, keep it that way. His team heard the explosion and knew it was time to leave. They fell back fighting, using every rock and crater for cover. The 2 groups met at the landing site, had the ship powered up and ready. Get in, he shouted. They piled into the ship. Ravagers were right behind them. Energy weapons scored the hull. We're loaded, Minyu called out. Didn't wait for confirmation. The ship lifted off hard, throwing everyone against the walls. He pushed the engines beyond safety limits. Ravager fighters launched from hidden bases. They came at the ship from all angles. "I've got 12 on my tail," said, his hands flying over the controls. He jinked left, then right, then up. The Coalition-built ship groaned under the stress. "The hull can't take much more," the engineer warned. "It'll hold," said with more confidence than he felt. He aimed for the debris field again. It was even more dangerous flying into it at speed with fighters chasing them. "You're insane," a Coalition pilot shouted. "Probably," agreed. He rolled the ship through a gap barely wider than their wingspan. The Ravager fighters followed, but their programming made them fly in perfect formation. When one had to dodge, they all dodged the same way. Use that against them. He led them into and spaces. 2 fighters clipped debris and exploded. 3 more collided with each other. The remaining fighters broke off pursuit at the edge of the debris field. "We're clear," said, slumping in his seat. In the cargo bay, Minu was counting heads. They had lost 12 people. 43 were injured, but they had completed the mission. "Did you get anything else from their network?" he asked. The specialist nodded tiredly. "I recorded everything. Their command protocols, their coordination signals, even their base locations." She held up a data drive. "This should help us hit them where it hurts." Back at Coalition Command, the mission reports spread quickly. Humans had infiltrated a Ravager world, destroyed a major facility, and escaped with valuable intelligence. They had done what the entire Coalition military said was impossible. Prime Speaker reviewed the data with Dr. "Your people flew through a debris field no computer could navigate," said. "They fought outnumbered 20 to 1. They adapted when plans failed." "How?" Smiled tiredly. "Because humans don't fight by the rules. We fight to survive, and survival doesn't care about what's supposed to be impossible." Looked at the footage of the battle. Humans fighting injured. Humans improvising tactics on the fly. Humans refusing to quit even when surrounded. "They're not soldiers," said quietly. "No," agreed. "They're hunters, and the Ravagers just became the prey." The war was turning, but the cost was high. Captain sat in her quarters reading casualty reports. 3 months of fighting. 42 humans lost. 117 injured. The numbers looked small compared to Coalition losses, but each number was someone she knew, someone she had led into battle. There was a knock at her door. Doctor entered carrying 2 cups of coffee. Real coffee from Earth, not the synthetic stuff the Coalition made. "You should sleep," said, handing her a cup. "Can't," said. "The Coalition is planning a major assault on the Ravager Central Hub. They want human teams to lead it." "That's good, isn't it? It means they trust us now." "It means more people will die," said quietly. She looked at him. "We've lost so many already. How many more before this ends?" Sat down across from her. "As many as it takes. That's what we signed up for." "I know, but knowing it doesn't make it easier." 3 days later, the assault began. It was the largest military operation in Coalition history. 500 ships, 50,000 soldiers, and at the front leading the charge were the humans. The Ravager hub was a massive structure, bigger than a moon. It coordinated all Ravager forces across this sector of the galaxy. Destroy it, and the enemy would be crippled. But it was also the most heavily defended position in known space. "All ships, this is Captain," said over the fleet-wide channel. "We knew this wouldn't be easy. The Ravagers will throw everything at us. But remember why we're here. Behind us are worlds full of people who can't defend themselves. We fight so they don't have to." The fleet moved forward. Immediately, the Ravagers responded. Defense platforms opened fire. Hundreds of them. Energy beams crossed space like a web of light. Ships exploded. Coalition vessels took hits to their shields. Human ships with weaker shields but better armor pushed through the fire. "Helm, get us closer," ordered. "Weapons, target those platforms." Her ship, the Horizon's Edge, shook under the impacts. Alerts screamed from every console. "Hull breach on Deck 3, someone called out. "Seal it," said calmly. "Keep firing." On another ship, Engineer Lee was working in the engine room. The ship had taken damage, and the power core was unstable. "I need more power to the shields," the captain demanded over the intercom. "If I give you more power, the core might overload," said. "Do it anyway. We won't need shields if we're dead." Push the power output higher. The core temperature rose into the red zone. She could feel the heat even through the protective walls. "The radiation levels are spiking," her assistant warned. "We should evacuate this section." "Not until the battle is over," said. "Someone has to keep this running." The battle raged for hours. Ships on both sides fell like burning stars. The humans fought with their usual intensity, ignoring damage, pushing forward when coalition forces would have retreated. Sergeant led a boarding team onto a Ravager command ship. His Marines fought through corridors filled with enemy machines. They took casualties, but they didn't stop. "Plant the charges," shouted over the sound of gunfire. Lieutenant Sora moved forward, her team covering her. She reached the ship's core and started setting explosives. A Ravager appeared behind her. She spun and fired, dropping it with 3 shots. "Charges set," she called. 30 seconds. "Everyone out," ordered. They ran. The ship exploded behind them, the blast pushing their escape pod away from the debris. But the Ravagers weren't done. They deployed their final weapon, antimatter missiles, weapons they had held in reserve. The first missile hit a coalition battleship. The ship simply disappeared in a flash of light. No explosion, no debris, just gone. "They have antimatter weapons," someone said on the command channel. The voice was shaking. Panic spread through the fleet. Coalition ships began to pull back. They had fought bravely, but antimatter changed everything. "All ships hold position," ordered, but she could see ships turning away. "Captain, we have to retreat," her first officer said. "We can't fight antimatter missiles." His jaw tightened. She was about to give the order when Engineer's voice came through. "Captain, I think I can disable the antimatter platform." "How?" asked. "It's at the center of the hub. You'd have to get inside." "That's exactly what I'm going to do," said. "I'm taking an EVA suit and going over." "That's suicide. The radiation from the hub alone." "I know," interrupted. "But if I don't, we lose. Everyone dies. At least this way, most of us survive." Felt her heart break. "I can't order you to do this." "You're not ordering me, Captain. I'm volunteering." Before could respond, had already suited up and launched from her ship. She flew through space using small thrusters, dodging debris and weapons fire. "Your radiation exposure is already critical," medics said over the comm. "Come back." "Can't," said simply. "I'm almost there." She landed on the hub's hull. Her suit's radiation alarms were screaming. She ignored them and started cutting through the outer armor with a plasma torch. Inside the hub, she found the antimatter control room. It was unguarded. The Ravagers never expected anyone to survive the radiation long enough to reach it. Her hands shook as she worked, not from fear, from radiation poisoning. Her body was breaking down at the cellular level. "Okay," she said, her voice weak. "I'm accessing the weapon system now." "Your vital signs are failing," said, his voice tight with worry. "I know," she said. "Just give me a minute." She typed commands with fingers that barely responded. Her vision was blurring, but she had been an engineer for 15 years. She could do this blind if she had to. "There," she said. "Antimatter system is offline. You've got a window, use it." "Get out of there," ordered. "Can't move," Captain said. Her voice was getting fainter. "Radiation got me pretty good, but I can still help. I'm going to overload the hub's power core from here. It'll blow the whole thing." "No." "It's okay," Captain said. She sounded peaceful. "I'm from Earth. We die hard. This is a good death." She entered the final command. The hub's power core began to overload. "You have 3 minutes," said. "Get everyone clear." His voice broke. "Tell everyone it was an honor." Signal cut out. "All ships retreat," ordered, tears streaming down her face. "Maximum speed." The fleet pulled back. 2 minutes later, the Ravager hub exploded. The blast was visible from a light year away. When the debris cleared, the Ravagers were in chaos. Their command structure was gone. Their coordination was broken. The Coalition fleet swept in and finished them. But nobody celebrated. That night, the humans held a memorial service. They gathered in the largest hangar bay. Coalition members came too, filling the space. Lieutenant Sora stood at the front. She looked at the assembled crowd, at the humans who had fought beside, at the aliens who had watched her sacrifice. "Engineer Lee came from Seoul, Earth," Sora began. She loved puzzles, said engineering was just solving puzzles that hadn't been invented yet. She could fix anything with spare parts and stubbornness. Sora paused, collecting herself. "Earth tried to kill us every day for millions of years. Storms, predators, disease, famine. We survived because we learned to protect each other, even when it cost us everything." She looked at the Coalition members. "You asked us why we fight when it hurts, why we keep going when injured, why we don't give up even when we should. This is why. Because dying so you could live, that's what humans do. We pay the cost others can't." The service continued for an hour. Stories were shared, tears were shed. Both humans and aliens mourned together. Afterward, Captain stood alone, looking out at the stars. Prime Speaker approached quietly. "Captain, I am sorry for your loss," said. "Was brave beyond measure." "She was," agreed. "But bravery isn't the right word. Bravery is facing your fear, wasn't afraid. She saw what needed to be done and did it. That's just human." "You've lost so many," said softly. 47 now, how do you continue?" Turn to face the alien. "Do you know what Doctor discovered about human psychology?" "Tell me." "Humans evolved to process trauma and keep functioning," said. "When something terrible happens, we grieve, but we don't break. We can't afford to, because on Earth, if you broke down, you died. So we learned to carry our pain and keep moving." "That sounds like torture," said. "Sometimes it is," admitted, "but it's also our greatest strength. We remember everyone we've lost, we carry them with us, and we make sure their sacrifice means something." Was quiet for a moment. "The Ravagers are retreating across the sector. Your strategy worked. The war is turning in our favor." "Good," said. "Then didn't die for nothing." "Captain, there's something I need to tell you," said. "The Coalition Council is meeting tomorrow. They want to discuss humanity's role in the galaxy going forward." "What about it?" "They want to offer Earth full membership, equal standing with all Coalition species." Paused. "Some are afraid of humans, but most are grateful. You've shown us what real courage looks like." Looked back at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, home, a world that had forged humans in fire and pain and endless struggle. "We didn't come here to conquer," she said. "We came to help, because that's what we survive, and we make sure others survive too." In his medical bay was treating the wounded from the battle. His hands were steady even though his heart was heavy. He had tried to save, had begged her to come back, but she had made her choice. A Coalition soldier watched him work. "Doctor, how do you keep going after losing someone?" Was quiet for a moment. "We honor them by living, by continuing the fight they started, gave us a chance to win this war. The least we can do is finish it." The soldier nodded slowly. "You humans are strange, terrifying and inspiring at the same time." Smiled sadly. "Welcome to Earth, that's kind of our thing." The war wasn't over, but the tide had turned. The Ravagers were learning what the galaxy was beginning to understand. When you threaten the weak, when you prey on the helpless, when you think victory is certain, that's when they show up. And they don't stop until the job is done. The final battle began at dawn, ship time. The Ravagers had retreated to their origin system, a dark cluster of asteroids and dead planets where they had first awakened. Intelligence said the original Ravager consciousness was here, the first machine that had started it all. Destroy it and the war would end. Captain stood on the bridge of the Horizon's Edge, now flagship of the Joint Coalition human fleet. Around her, the largest armada ever assembled prepared for battle. "All ships report ready," her tactical officer said. "Good," said. She opened a fleet-wide channel. "This is Captain. 3 months ago we arrived at Coalition space as strangers. Today we fight as allies, as friends. The Ravagers took millions of lives. They destroyed worlds. They thought they were unstoppable." She paused, looking at the showing the enemy system. "Let's prove them wrong. All ships advance." The fleet moved forward as one. Coalition ships with their elegant designs. Human ships with their blocky, practical hulls. Together, they entered the Ravager system. The enemy met them with everything they had. Thousands of ships poured from the asteroids. Defense platforms hidden in the rocks activated. The space lit up with weapons fire. "Here we go," Pilot Shin muttered from his station. "Helm control to manual." "You sure?" asked. "Computer flying is predictable," said. "Predictable gets you killed. I'd rather trust my hands." He dove the massive flagship through a gap in the enemy formation that the computer insisted didn't exist. The ship groaned under the G-forces, but flying was smooth. Across the fleet, other human pilots did the same. They flew like they were extensions of their ships, reacting to threats before computers could calculate them. Coalition pilots watched in amazement and tried to copy their techniques. On the ground team, Commander Minyu led a boarding force toward the largest asteroid. That's where intelligence said the original consciousness was located. "Remember the plan," Minyu said to his team. "Get in, plant the virus, get out. Specialist has the upload device." Checked her equipment nervously. The virus she had created was based on human immune system logic. It would teach itself to counter Ravager adaptations. At least, that was the theory. "What if it doesn't work?" she asked. "Then we improvise," Sergeant said, checking his rifle. "We're good at that." Their ship landed hard on the asteroid's surface. The gravity was almost nothing, making every step a careful bounce. "I hate low gravity," Lieutenant Sora muttered, adjusting to the weird movement. "Give me heavy gravity any day." "That's because you're a Coalition soldier said. "You're built for high gravity." "Built to survive anything," Sora corrected. "That's the point." They entered the asteroid through a massive breach in the surface. Inside was a maze of tunnels and chambers, all filled with Ravager machines. The machines attacked immediately, but the team was ready. Human and Coalition soldiers fought side by side, using tactics they had learned together over 3 months of war. "Left corridor," shouted. His team moved to cover it. Ravagers poured through, and the humans cut them down with precise fire. Medic Hand moved through the chaos, treating wounded soldiers. He had perfected the art of battlefield medicine, working on Coalition physiology as easily as human. "You're hit," he said to a fur-covered alien. "I can still fight," the alien protested. "Not with a punctured lung," said, injecting sealant. "Sit tight, you'll be fine in 10 minutes. The alien stared at him. "You're treating me while under fire." "That's my job," said simply, already moving to the next wounded. Deeper in the asteroid, Minyu's team reached the core chamber. It was massive, filled with the original Ravager consciousness. A machine the size of a building, pulsing with cold light. "You're up," Minyu said. The specialist approached the machine, her hands shaking. She plugged in her device and started the upload. The virus began flowing into the Ravager network. Immediately, the machine reacted. It tried to purge the virus to isolate it. But the virus was built on human immune system logic. It adapted faster than the machine could respond. "It's working," breathed. The virus is spreading through their network. Then the machine did something unexpected. It spoke. "What are you?" the voice echoed through the chamber. It sounded confused, almost afraid. "Your species violates all survival parameters. You continue when damaged. You fight when afraid. You sacrifice individuals for the group. This is illogical." Minyu stepped forward. "It's not illogical, it's human." "Explain," the machine demanded. "We come from a world that tried to kill us every day," Minyu said. "We survived by working together, by refusing to quit, by being stubborn enough to outlast anything." "This does not compute," the machine said. "Survival requires preservation of the individual unit." "No," Minyu said. "Survival requires preservation of the species. We learned that millions of years ago. You never did." The virus finished uploading. The Ravager consciousness began to fragment, its coordination breaking down. "Retreat," Minyu ordered. "It's going to collapse." The team ran. Behind them, the machine's voice called out one last time. "We underestimated biological life. We thought it was weak. We were wrong." They made it to their ship seconds before the asteroid exploded. The blast spread through the Ravager network, carried by the virus. Across the system, Ravager ships went dark. In space, the battle turned instantly. Without their central coordination, the machines fought as individuals. They were still dangerous, but no longer unstoppable. "All ships press the attack," ordered. The Coalition fleet surged forward. Ship after ship, the Ravagers fell. Some tried to retreat, but there was nowhere to go. By nightfall, ship time, it was over. The last Ravager ship was destroyed. The machines that had threatened the entire galaxy were gone. Silence filled the command channels. Nobody quite believed it was real. Then someone started cheering. The sound spread through the fleet, humans and aliens celebrating together. Allowed herself a small smile. "Well done, everyone, let's go home." 3 days later, the fleet returned to Coalition space. They were met by crowds on every station, every planet. People cheered and cried and celebrated. The Coalition Council held a special session. All 17 species were represented, plus now a new one, Earth. Prime Speaker stood before the assembly. "The war is over. The Ravagers are defeated, but we must acknowledge the cost. We lost millions, and we owe our survival to a species we barely knew." Turned to where the humans stood. Captain Dr. Park, Sergeant Lieutenant Sorabe, Medic Han, Commander Minyu, Specialist, Pilot Shin, and all the humans who fought beside us. "You came when we called for help. You taught us what true courage means." The assembly stood and applauded. It went on for 5 minutes. When it quieted, stepped forward. "Prime Speaker, we didn't come here as conquerors or saviors. We came because it was right, because helping others is what civilized beings do." "You lost 47 soldiers," said quietly, "nearly half your force." "We did," agreed. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were sad. "And we'll carry them with us always. But their sacrifice saved billions. That's worth something." "The Council wishes to offer Earth full membership in the Galactic Coalition," announced. "Equal standing, equal voice." Looked at her fellow humans. They nodded. "We accept," she said, "on one condition." "Name it," said. "We want to help restructure your military doctrine," said. "Teach other species what we learned on Earth. Not how to be violent, how to survive." His eyes blinked rapidly. "You wish to train Coalition forces in tactics." "We wish to teach them resilience," corrected. "How to adapt, how to keep fighting when things go wrong, how to protect each other." The Council murmured among themselves. Finally nodded. "Agreed, we have much to learn from Earth." Over the following months, things changed. Captain became Admiral, the first human to command Coalition fleet forces. Doctor established the Institute for Survival Studies, teaching other species about resilience and adaptation. Sargent trained special forces from a dozen worlds in unconventional warfare. Medic revolutionized coalition medicine, introducing trauma protocols based on human healing capabilities. Lieutenant Sara became an ambassador, helping species understand humanity's strange combination of violence and compassion. Commander Minu led exploration missions into unknown space, always ready for the unexpected. Specialists worked on communications and AI ethics, ensuring no more Ravagers would emerge. Pilot commanded the first joint exploration fleet, teaching others to fly by instinct. 6 months after the war ended, a coalition child visited the Earth Embassy. She was a small, blue-skinned thing with curious eyes. "Are you really from the child asked Captain. Smiled and knelt down. "I am. Earth is my home." "Is it scary there?" "Sometimes," admitted. "We have storms that can destroy cities, animals that can kill you with one bite, diseases that can spread across the whole planet. The ground shakes, the sky catches fire, the weather changes from freezing to boiling." The child's eyes were wide. "How do you live there?" "We adapt," said. "We build strong houses for the storms. We learn which animals to avoid. We create medicine for diseases. We help each other when things go wrong." "Do you get scared?" "All the time," said honestly. "Fear is good. It tells you when danger is near, but we don't let fear stop us. We feel it and we act anyway." "Why?" the child asked. Thought about sacrificing herself to save the fleet, about all the humans who had died in this war, about the millions of years of human evolution, fighting and surviving and refusing to quit. "Because on our world nothing came easy," she said. "We had to fight for everything: food, shelter, safety. We learned that pain is temporary but giving up lasts forever. You called for heroes. We're not heroes, we're just humans. We endure." The child considered this. "Can you teach us to be like you?" Looked at the child's parent, a coalition officer she had fought beside. The officer nodded. "Yes," said. "We can teach you to survive, and more importantly, we can teach you to live, not in fear but with purpose, not alone but together." That night stood in the observation deck of the coalition station, looking at the stars. So many worlds out there, so many species, all of them learning what Earth had taught humanity over millions of years. Doctor joined her, carrying 2 cups of coffee, thinking about home. "Always," said, taking the cup. "But this is home too now. Earth gave us strength. The coalition gives us purpose." "We lost a lot," said quietly. "All of them." "We did," agreed. "But look what they gave us. A galaxy that knows hope doesn't come from being fearless. It comes from being afraid and fighting anyway." Smiled. "That's very poetic for someone who grew up in a—" "Make you tough," said. "They also make you appreciate beauty. Because when you see how hard life fights to survive, you understand how precious it is." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Earth was out there somewhere, still spinning in its deadly orbit, still testing every living thing on its surface. But now Earth's children walked among the stars, not as conquerors, not as saviors, just as survivors who refused to let others face the dark alone. The galaxy had cried out for heroes. They had arrived, and they brought with them the most powerful weapon in the universe, the knowledge that no matter how dark things get, no matter how hopeless it seems, you keep fighting, you keep hopping, you keep living. Because that's what humans do. They endure, and they teach others to endure with them. The war was over, the peace had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. In the darkness of space, on 1,000 different worlds, the story spread. The story of Earth, the story of humans who fought through pain, who survived the impossible, who taught the galaxy what true strength meant. Not the strength to destroy, the strength to protect, the strength to sacrifice, the strength to keep going when every logical calculation says to quit. The Ravagers were gone, but their defeat taught the galaxy an important lesson. Never underestimate a species that evolved in hell and learned to call it home. Earth's children had arrived among the stars, and they were here to stay.